1 second, fellows. I have lost my purple pen. Maybe I just can't. It seems a little dark. I'm just crazy. I'm extremely upset at the moment. My purple pen is eluding me. Oh, there it is. I am Ray, and your spiritual journey ends today, my friend. You see, the spiritual journey ends the moment you realize that there is no distance to the crows. They're back. The spiritual journey ends the moment you realize that there is no distance to the destination. And there is nobody to embark on a journey. Here's what I mean. Authentic bird sounds today. They say enlightenment is the ego's greatest disappointment because the one who wants to get enlightened is the one getting in the way. Here you are, clueless. Not anymore. Trying to achieve something on the spiritual journey. You're trying to get enlightenment. Or maybe you're trying to get peace. Or maybe you're trying to get love or joy. Or perhaps even trying to get abundance. But here's the problem. When you believe you do not have these things, you automatically create separation between you and them. Because here you are without these things, and now you're trying to get them. The problem is that these things are the default state. They're already yours. You cannot become enlightened. You are enlightened already. We are all born enlightened, but we become endarkened through the conditioning of our experience. What you're really trying to do, as Jesus said, come to me as little children and enter the kingdom of heaven. Why don't you? In this way, you're trying to get what you lost in childhood. But what you lost never left you. It was just covered up by a bunch of garbage. It's like on a dark, stormy day where there's clouds covering the sky. Do these clouds have any effect on the sun? Has the sun changed at all? No, there's just clouds getting in the way. So too, there's a bunch of clouds in your mind getting in the way of you recognizing your true nature. What is that cloud, you may ask? It's the conditioning. The conditioning of what? Our mind conditioning, or ego. The mind is like a center of gravity in which all of our ideas, all of our beliefs center around. And these things create attachments. We're attached to our beliefs. We're attached to certain identities. I am this kind of person. This is what I do. The ego's favorite word is me. It's not a bad thing. Our mind is what gives us a sense of free will and individuality. The illusion that we're stuck in is believing that we are the mind. Or in other words, believing that we are our thoughts. You are not a thought, I hope. And see, you can get enlightened like that. It doesn't take time. But if you believe that you have to do all of these spiritual practices and only after 30 years of meditation can you achieve inner peace, then it will take 30 years. They have a name for that. I don't know what it's called. Let me know. The time it takes for you to achieve something will adapt to the time you allow. But you see, what we have to do, we have to stop entertaining certain beliefs, certain ideas. Because the moment you come to some conclusion about the way life is and the way you are, you will manifest that into reality. Because reality is being filtered through your mind. So whatever mind information you got going on in here, it's going to get projected out onto the world, and that is what you will experience. Are you listening to me? And so you will not experience reality as it is. You will experience reality as you are. So right now, believe that you can be free today. Because if you believe it, you shall receive it. Or at the very least, don't put unnecessary burdens on yourself about getting what you want. Like for instance, if you say making money is hard, that's a stupid belief. Don't believe it. I don't care what you have experienced in your life. I don't care what your eyes tell you. That belief you will believe that reality into existence. And my greatest foes recently are the realists. Because the realists look with their eyes, and that is how they determine reality. One little problem. They don't realize that the data is being corrupted by their own thoughts, by the information. So when somebody says, oh, this is the way that life is, it is true for them, not for you. Be careful what you listen to on the internet. Because people will claim that things are true, and you'll hear the same thing from other people. And so you'll assume, oh, it's true. It must be true. Multiple people have experienced the same thing. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. So what? Two people are living in the same box. Do you want to live in that box? You don't have to squeeze yourself in the box and say, oh, okay, I'll live this way then. So be careful. So be careful of your thoughts about the spiritual journey and what it entails and what you will receive. And how about just having no expectations at all? Because the moment you have no expectations, the moment the actual truth can make itself known to you. But so long as you're stuck in your ways, well, then the truth will always be stuffed in this box. The box is the prison of your mind. And that prison is made up of thoughts. And you put yourself in the jail by believing the thoughts. So how about we just let the thoughts go for a moment? In fact, let's get enlightened. This exercise comes from the wonderful Muji. And Muji was the one who led me to my awakening. So let me share the gift with you. What we want to do, the goal, before we begin. I guess the cat's out of the bag. I have returned. No animals were harmed in the making of this video. What we want to discover is who you are before your name. Because you did not come out of your mother's womb with your name stamped on your butt. I promise you that. Your name is just an idea that we have latched onto. And the name is the source of the identity. And so we have all kinds of stuff associated with this name. And because we've identified with the name, that becomes our experience. But again, who are you before your name? Who are you before thoughts? Because you exist. You exist when there are thoughts. You exist when there are no thoughts. You exist in deep sleep. You know that you exist. But as what do you exist? This is not a philosophical thing, by the way. Don't think about it. Because a thought is just a thought. That's more thinking. Who are you before thoughts? What is true in this present moment? If you take 60 seconds to close your eyes and try to find the person you believe yourself to be, try to find your ego, what shall you find? If you close your eyes, don't move your hands or nothing, where are you as a man or a woman? Where does that identity come from? Where does this exist? Don't feel around. Just close your eyes and try to find it. Where are you even as a human being? Don't open your eyes yet. The point is, when you close your eyes and you try to find all of the things we've latched our identity onto, they do not exist. Only when you open your eyes again, go and look in the mirror, do you remember, oh, yes, I am a man or a woman, or both. Yes, I am a human. Oh, yes, I am my name. And then you go around assuming the same things about others. And they assume the same thing about you. But it's all just thoughts. It's all just imaginary. I don't know who you are. You don't know who I am. Even if you're a conjoined twin, you don't know what it's like to live in the other person's head. So you can only ever have an idea about the person. Never exactly who they are. The point I'm trying to make is that almost all of our reality is assumed. But I say to you, what is not assumed? What is true? What are you? Please tell me this. And we can do the Muji exercise now. Let's just sit here for a moment. Just be empty. Empty, empty, empty. No thoughts, no future, no past, not even the idea of the present moment. No next. Just be here. If some thoughts arise, are these thoughts not observed by something? What is that which observes? We'll do another exercise in a moment, but I want to make this point. In our reality, whatever it is that you observe cannot be you. Because in order to observe something, you need an object and you need an observer, the subject. So there's a process called self-inquiry, which is asking yourself the question, who am I? And the process goes like this. Anything that you observe cannot be you, because then who is the one observing it? So we go through our identity step by step. You look at your body and ask yourself, am I the body? You look at your thoughts and you ask yourself, am I my thoughts? And as we continue asking ourselves, as we continue observing, we must come to a place beyond the mind. Because so long as you're caught In the philosophical aspect of this, you'll continue on and on and on and on, never actually finding what you're looking for. The mind wants to grasp at something. It wants to grasp an object. But you are not an object, I hope. The problem is that when there is only one, there is no experience. Like the sharpest knife can cut through anything, like my swords. But the swords can never cut themselves. The hottest fire can burn anything, but the fire cannot burn itself. And the greatest scale can weigh anything in the universe, but the scale cannot weigh itself. So too, your eyes can see everything, but your eyes cannot see themselves, because you are one with yourself. And so we cannot see the observer directly, because we are one with that. We can only see our mirror reflection in the mind. So what this entails, it's you close your eyes and you just try to find that observing place. Where is it? Where is it? And the moment you find it, it's going to be so silly because it's right in front of our face. It's always there. And once you wake up to it, this was that simple the whole time? I spent my whole life struggling? It is more obvious than obvious. It is more simple than simple. You will realize that, I am here. Here I am. This is me. And when you see yourself for the first time, it's a life-changing experience because you're no longer stuck in the illusion that you are your thoughts. You're no longer stuck believing that you're the mind identity. You see, there's a reason I call myself I Am Ray. That is my name. But you can call me Ray. The I Am is silent. Get it? You are the silent witness behind all experiences. We believe we are the voice inside our head, but the voice is an object observed. We, in truth, are the silent one who is listening. You must find this. Find it. It's here now. It's here forever. You see, and the thing is, what you are in truth, your true nature as the I Am, its radiance is love, peace, and joy. So the moment you rest in this space, this observing space, over time, the more peace, love, and joy enters into your life. The more you enter into harmony, because you are the source of harmony itself. But the more you identify with your mind, the more you are cut off from harmony. The more you struggle, the more you suffer. The more problems you experience in life. You are the source of what you seek. You are heaven. And it is only our belief in separation that keeps us from our natural heavenly state. Because think about the idea of God, for instance. Most people would agree that God is eternal, that God is omnipresent. God is everywhere. And so if God is everywhere and is eternal, that means God is everywhere always. And if God is everywhere always, it means that God can never be separated from you. And most people would also agree that heaven is synonymous with union. And separation is synonymous with hell. Separation from and union with God. The closer you get to God, the more you enter into heaven. The further you stray from God, the more you enter into hell. But we have already established that God can never be separated from you. All separation is an illusion. The moment you realize this, all of hell dissipates. It doesn't exist. It's only illusion. Evil only exists because of ignorance. We believe evil into existence, but in itself it has no existence. You are already in heaven, you're only dreaming that you're not, because of your false identification with your mind. That is all. And what happens is that the moment you realize that you are already one with God, you enter into Christ consciousness. If you didn't know, what I'm sharing with you here is the same thing that Jesus was sharing with you 2,000 years ago. It's just people get it all twisted. And what is unveiled over time is that you see the oneness with everything. You see the divine play of God, and you're no longer caught in your own individual story. You no longer take things personally. Sometimes you get caught back into the game. Sometimes you get caught back into ego, and that's okay. It's all part of the fun. Because the game of life wouldn't be fun if God was just, okay, I'm God, I get to do whatever I want. Have you ever played a video game and you use the cheat codes to just win the game automatically? What's the point of that? It's not fun. God experiences reality in the limited form to enjoy the experience of limitation. to forget its true nature, to rejoice in the act of remembering. Because what will happen as you resonate in this teaching, in this wisdom, you will discover that all your worry, all of your fears, all of your concerns about everything in life, poof, gone, forever, for all eternity. You will realize that you are eternally free. You no longer concern yourself with ideas like hell and suffering. In fact, this realization sets you free from suffering. And every spiritual saint who ever existed would say this is the most important thing you can do in your life. Because until you realize this, you are on a never-ending wheel of suffering and struggle. But once you seek first the kingdom of God, now you can play life fearlessly because you realize there is no death. You are the eternal life. You are the light itself. So what power does the darkness have in the presence of the light? What power does death have in the presence of the life? That is why Jesus could resurrect the dead. They got nothing against Jesus. What are they going to do? Nothing. There is no force that can stand against you. There is no power in this world or in hell that is not given authority by God. But what happens is that if you're stuck in the illusion of separation. First, illusion is the same thing as darkness and ignorance and unconsciousness. And so the source of all evil is ignorance, believing in separation. So long as you're in here, you're under the influence of the forces of darkness. You're stuck in an imaginary world in which the demons rule. And what happens? In this illusion, you will experience fear, worry, all negative emotions, suffering, guilt, shame, struggle. Life is a nightmare. But the moment you become free from the illusion, you step out here. All of these things begin to go away. And you realize that the default state of reality is perfect. That God's creation is perfect. And that the only reason it wasn't perfect was because you were judging it. You were judging yourself, you were judging others. If separation is illusion, that means the truth is unity. And if the truth is unity, it means there is only one. God is the only actor, playing through an infinite array of different characters. So when you judge another person, you're not judging the other person. You're trapped in an illusion. You're actually judging God. That is why Jesus said, when you judge the least of thee, you judge me. Because he understood that there was only one. There is no separation. Judge not, lest ye be judged. Because every time you judge somebody else, you're judging yourself. If you ever want to know about somebody, watch how they judge others. The way you judge the world is a confession of character. Again, because reality is being projected from your mind outward. So when people say, this is the nature of reality, no, it's just you. When somebody judges another, it's called shadow projection. To avoid facing the truth, we project onto others all of our garbage. So we can feel nice and safe and say, oh, they are like that, but I am different. I am not like that. That is the ego. Its whole drive is judgment. That is why wisdom requires humility. Because you have to look at yourself and say, oh, wait a minute, I am the problem. And just take it a step deeper. It is your mind that is the problem, your ego, which gives us the sense of separation and creates the illusion of the reality we experience. This was one of the first stories told in the Bible. The Garden of Eden. In the Garden of Eden, what happened? In the beginning, Adam and Eve were at one with God. And so they were in paradise. But what happened? They ate from the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. Duality. Separation. And so they were banished out of paradise into this hell realm where now they struggle and experience a lot of suffering. What is called original sin is ignorance. Because as we've discussed, God can never be separated from you. It is only a veil covering your eyes that prevents you from seeing this. And what the story of the Garden of Eden is, it's our origin story of our evolution as a human species. Because brainwaves, which are electrical impulses in the brain, determine the way we experience reality. What are brainwaves? You could say energy, it's electricity, but it's frequency and vibration. So vibration is the motion of energy. Frequency is how fast that energy is vibrating. And so as we evolved higher mammalian brains, we developed brains that could produce higher brainwave frequencies, higher intelligence. Think about how information goes through a telephone wire. How fast your brainwaves oscillate determines how much information can be processed at any given moment. So people who have the fastest brainwaves, they are considered more intelligent than everyone else because they process information faster. The only problem is, the faster your brainwaves vibrate, the stronger the mind, and the mind creates the illusion of separation, which is why all the atheists, they fall mostly under the same archetype. Thinking types, rational, highly intelligent, intellectuals. They have the strongest sense of separation. So they are the ones most deep in the illusion. And they become prideful because the mind creates the sense of I. And there gets this idea that, okay, I am better than everyone else because I am smarter than everyone else. And what you will find is that those who are thinking types have the most difficulty becoming spiritually awakened. Because as we've discussed, all of the mind stuff are like big dark clouds. And so the more clouds and stuff you have getting in the way, the harder it is to see your true nature, to come to God realization. Atheists don't believe in God because they don't see evidence of God, and they don't see evidence of God because they're biologically hardwired not to. So to believe in God would go against their biological imperative. Only when one develops wisdom, seeks and shall find also, are they able to come to God realization. And so, well, a lot of the spiritual teachings, like the monks, they meditate to slow down their brainwave frequencies. Because in the slower brainwave state, your true radiance begins to emerge. Here's an example. Once I was sleeping, and then I awoke. But I was still in deep sleep. You might say, in terms of brainwave frequencies, sleep paralysis is up here, and where I was like down here. So it wasn't sleep paralysis. It was a bit more deep. And I had no sensation of my body whatsoever. I was only aware of a few things. I was aware of the darkness in the room. Everything was dark. There was a vast emptiness and silence. Another thing, there was a big ball where my head should be, at the center. And the only other thing that existed was just the most powerful sense of bliss that you could ever imagine. And I questioned, wait a minute, this is strange. What is one of the most powerful human experiences doing in the middle of deep sleep where no one's around to experience? What is going on here? And so what happens is that every night when we go to sleep, we return to source. This is the source that is God, but it's the source of life itself. Just a tip, deep sleep is the most important thing you will ever do for your health. Because this source of harmony, what happens is that the mind dissolves back into unity. The brainwave frequencies slow down. So a very good example. And when the mind is not present, consciousness emerges. Your true nature, your natural radiance of peace, love, joy, harmony. And what happens is that this source of harmony goes throughout your body and does all the repairs. It restores harmony. It restores balance. This is why you see also sometimes with mystics, they don't sleep that much because they don't need it, because they're always in this state. They have cleansed the mind and slowed down their brainwave frequencies enough for the radiance of consciousness to always be shining forth. Look at Sadhguru. He says it all the time. I'm always blissed out. No drugs. Because when you tap into this, you have found the kingdom of God. Heaven. I'll give you another example. One day during my dark night of the soul, I also awoken, but I was up here. Not quite fully awake, but still aware. And it was nice. Just a comfortable, nice, joyful feeling. Peace. And then suddenly, my mind kicked on, and I was immediately flooded with the worst feeling, nasty dread you could ever imagine. Pure negativity and cortisol. And so it makes you think, well, what changed? I was just relaxed in the best feeling ever. And now I'm suffering miserably. What is it? It is the mind that kicked on, which separated me from the natural radiance that is, because my mind was stuck with all of these different attachments, all of this garbage. It's like, here I was, basking on a nice hot summer day, And then I open my eyes and it's immediately dark clouds everywhere, no sun. It's cold. You see, what I tell people now is that, yes, you can come to the realization of your true nature, no matter what, because it's always here. The only problem is that if you got a lot of thoughts and conditioning, it becomes very difficult to really see it. So one good preparation is to work on the body first. Get some of that energy that's so much in your mind and circulate it throughout your body. If you've ever noticed that after you do good exercise, you're naturally more at peace because your body no longer has all the excess resources to push toward unnecessary thoughts. So you want to get out of that mind space, that mind energy, and you want to get into your body. And the more you get into your body, the easier it is to come to God realization. And here is what I mean. Right now, you may not have ever realized it, but there is a vast ocean of silence going on all the time. But because there is so much noise, we are conditioned to focus on the noise. Only when you go out into nature and the noise pollution is gone, does the vast ocean of silence emerge and you say, oh, this is peaceful. Wow. And it is. And that is why when in noisy environments, people say, I'm not at peace. The trick is, the silence is there the whole time. It has only been temporarily covered up by the noise. So too, there is an everlasting silence in your mind. But because we've been conditioned to focus on the mind noise, we aren't aware of it. So yes, anybody can become enlightened, awakened at any moment. All you have to do is recognize this silence because it's always there. But it's easier to do so when you've got rid of a bit of that mind nonsense, a bit of that conditioning. So far, this is my favorite exercise to realize this. You can let me know if it's helped or if it doesn't in the comments. So what we are going to do, we're going to enter into the kingdom of God. First thing we need to know, let's just assume that God is eternal. What else is eternal? There's only one thing else that is eternal. It's the present moment. You could say change is eternal too, but here we are in the present moment, which means that the X that marks the spot to what you're trying to find is already beneath you. So remember, you don't have to go out and get anything. You don't have to do anything. You only have to recognize what is already yours. You only have to lift the veil over your eyes and see clearly. And you don't have to fight the ego. You don't have to destroy the ego. The ego doesn't exist. It's an illusion. It's a thought that we believe in. So don't do that. So in this present moment is the doorway to heaven. Next, the first sign that you're on the path toward the kingdom of God is peace. This is how you know you're getting close. Now we intuitively understand that peace and quiet go together. If we want peace, we want silence. But what is silence? Silence is the radiance of space. That's why in space, they can't hear your screams. Another example is that we have spent our life identifying with the clouds, but you must realize that you are the sky. You are the vast open space. So what if clouds are dark or light or fluffy or scary? Doesn't matter. The clouds have no influence on the sky. So too, no experience has any influence over you whatsoever, but only once you realize that you are the sky. Space is the vessel for consciousness. So this is the first step into the eternal. What I want you to do is breathe for a moment. Keep breathing as I'm speaking, and I want you to pay attention to the space in between the breaths. Do you recognize the space? It's right there. It's hard to miss. Now, this part can be tricky, but pay close attention. Now I want you to recognize, as you're breathing, that the space exists underneath the in-breath and the out-breath. It's only when the breath temporarily subsides does the space reveal itself. But the space is always there. Like the noise, we are conditioned to focus, on the breathing. We're not conditioned to focus on the space or on the silence. So once we see the space, then we go to the next step, recognizing that it is an eternal space. It's always there, no matter what. From the moment you're born until the moment you die, there is always this inner space. And you may even notice that if you focus your attention outward to the environment, you will kind of sense the space. It's hard to really describe nothingness, but you can get an idea. And if you turn your attention outward and then inward towards your body, you will see that the outer space and the inner space are the same space. It's only separated by the boundary of your skin, the sensations that you feel. So what we want to do is recognize this space. And what this is your safe space. What does this mean? It means that whenever you're suffering, whenever you feel fear or negativity or worry or guilt or shame or any negative thing at all, any negative experience, you can take refuge in this safe space and you will become free from suffering. Because in this eternal space is everlasting peace. This was the first thing I experienced after my awakening. Because I realized the everlasting space that is always there. Or the everlasting peace, mind you. So now it doesn't matter what happens. There is always peace. And we have stepped into the eternal toward God. Now all that happens is that you continue returning to the safe space over and over again. Over and over again. Because what will happen is that because your ego has so much juice, it will pull you back into identification with your mind. And you'll get distracted. And you'll feel suffering. And whenever you feel that suffering, use it as a trigger to return to this space. Just resonate here. As Muji would say, get in your sleeping bag and marinate in this space forever. Because why would you not want to experience everlasting peace? In the beginning, it will take some effort. Not because it takes any effort, but because the ego has energetic momentum. It's just kind of remembering, waking up out of the hypnosis. And you see, in this space, you may or may not see, but there is a presence. I encourage you in the morning to pay attention again to this space, and you will see the presence is a lot stronger. Because in the morning, we have this afterglow effect of going to source, of being immersed in the bliss of God, and that feeling lingers for a bit. But what happens? We just get up out of bed, the mind kicks on, takes up all that juice, and uses it for its own selfish gains. Unfortunate. So I encourage you, sleep in just a little bit, and don't allow your mind to just wake up so quickly. But in the morning, marinate in this space, in that presence, that good feeling, that joy, that peace, that love. It's the comfy feeling that makes you not want to get up out of bed in the morning, but focus on it with intention. Realize what you're doing, because you're reconnecting to your natural radiance. That presence is the I am. It is like the light and the warmth of the sun that you are, the eternal Son of God. If you want to understand God, just put all the stars in the universe and put them together. And then you put all the space and you put it together. Just put all the stuff in the universe and put it together. Now you see the vastness of God. And you may perhaps not have even stumbled upon God's toenail. You see, I read somewhere a great way of putting it, that enlightenment is nothing but breaking the ego habit. And it's so true. You break the habit of always paying attention to the mind noise. And you build the habit of returning to that space, to that silence. And what you will find, as you stabilize in this inner space, first of all, you'll experience peace all the time. But before the joy and the love and the harmony emerges, this ego conditioning has to continue to dissipate for some time. So by returning to this safe space, you take your energy away from the ego. And because the ego has no power of its own, it begins to die and diminish. The ego cannot survive without the energy that you feed it. And so the trick is to continue to relax into yourself. You may even try this. Squeeze your hand really hard and then relax it. Squeeze it really hard and then relax it. And that's what it's like. The ego makes us uptight and tense. But then we relax into our body, into the natural beingness. Sometimes you just got to take a few breaths. But a good way of thinking about it is relaxing into this space. Relief. And you'll experience relief, trust me. When you're suffering and you're going through an annoying experience, and you just relax back into the sense of being as you are, that relief will be so nice that you will just naturally stop entertaining your thoughts altogether, because you'll realize how much your thoughts are ruining your life, keeping you from your natural radiance of peace, love, and joy. So all you do, build the habit of returning to this space over and over again. The scary thoughts come, they pull you into it. Oh, remember, safe space, safe space. Ramakrishna once said, one of the biggest prerequisites for God realization is desire. You have to want it. You have to want to be free, because it requires determination and persistence and focus, even discipline, until the process becomes natural. Once you stabilize, you are able to just be. But it's like a fan. Once you unplug the ego, it keeps going for a while, until eventually it stops. That stillness, that silence, this is your home now. And as you return to here, the ego dissipates, the clouds dissipate, and the natural radiance of joy and love emerges. As Muji says, it's a fruit that continues to get more and more sweet, but never too sweet. And when you simply operate from this sense of being, complete surrender to the present moment, your life enters into absolute harmony, and all of your problems, day by day, step by step, begin to solve themselves, because you become a source of harmony, whereas most people are separated from their true nature, and the absence of harmony is problems. And that is also why you see most people, or a lot of people at least, are like the living dead. They have been cut off from their souls, and that is why children remind us of what we have lost, because they are directly tapped in. They are pure presence. They don't have all the nonsense conditioning yet that cuts them off from God. I am Ray. Visit my goal store. Much peace and many blessings, and remember, just be. And duck the monster mind. Just duck your negative thoughts, please. And duck your ego.